Testing, 1, 2. Vous êtes réveillés maintenant? Are you awake? Everyone awake? So today we have an exciting double feature for you. We have Prime Video and Prime Video France and Gaumont. And so first we'll dive into a case study of Once Upon My Mother, Ma Mère, Dieu et Sylvie Vartan, and then deep dive into Carjackers. As you'll see, two very different films, but equally exciting. And for this, we have assembled an A-list cast. Please welcome Marine Ford, who's the head of film production at Gaumont. Welcome. Thomas Dubois, who is the head of Amazon MGM Studios, France and Japan. And Sophie Tepper, who is a producer at Égérie Productions. So first, let's start with Once Upon My Mother, which, may I add, in case you're not aware, it is currently one of the top films at the French box office. It's sold some 1.5 million tickets, so we're talking about a success story. And so I guess, first of all, the fact that you're all sitting here on one stage is interesting in itself. So I guess let's start Once Upon a Time for Once Upon My Mother. Where did this project originate? How did it originate? Tell us everything.
Well, I was lucky enough to have the book, because it's from a book, Ma Mère, Dieu et Sylvie Vartan, before it was published. And as soon as I read it, I just fell in love with the story. And I picture myself a great movie about it. And I had a few years ago a very good experience with Gaumont, with Marine Ford. And she encouraged me to show her my projects, so that's what I did. And I came to Marine Ford, Frank Weber at Gaumont, and it was really fast, in fact. Less than 2 weeks later, we were on board to do this movie.
And what attracted you to the project?
As Sophie said, we had a first experience together, which was very fruitful. And I told Sophie that now we were also producing in-house movies. And when we read the book, and we were immediately inspired by this story. That we shared with Frank Weber and Sidonie Dumas, who loved also the story from first. And as Sophie said, it went very quickly at first, as we developed this movie in 2021. And it became actually more complex when we arrived to the financing parts. But maybe we will, I don't know.
And also 2021 was COVID. It was the pandemic, so the choice to release it first theatrically when streaming platforms were really exploding is interesting in itself. Can you talk about that a little bit? And also why it's unique in France?
I think this project was very one of a kind, as they both said. Like it all came from a book that was absolutely crazy great. And when I jumped in, they had really a lot of troubles to finance the movie. So the question was, how can we make something that can benefit everyone? In France, we have the media chronology. When you finance a movie for theaters, it's very specific. And the fact that some partners were missing on the way to get to this financing was actually an opportunity for us to think, okay, how can we think out of the box to make sure that this great script is going to come to life? So it was actually here in Cannes a few years ago, like Marine kind of pitched me the film and said, you need to read it because we need to find a way to finance it. And it all started there from the creative material that was above what we are usually reading. And then it was like both our brains, like every day trying to figure out how we can match the legal obligations we have, us as a streaming platform, to invest in cinema, while also ensuring the movie to have the best life possible. Yeah.
And you're talking about the pitch and why the project was so attractive. Can you tell us a little bit about what it's about?
It's a great story, very moving, about a mother who has a child born with a clubfoot, and he is the last of 6 children, and she wants a great life for him, like for all the others, and she will do an incredible way, not listening to the doctors, to everything, to make his son have his great life, and that's 50 years of a story, and the point of view character is the son that is now grown up, and his mother is no more here, and he tells this story, and it was really moving because I think this story speaks to everybody who has a mother, in fact.
Which is everybody. And it stars, the mother is Leila Bekti, the son is Jonathan Cohen. These are A-list French stars, and with obviously international appeal as well. And it's Ken Scott directing. So can you talk about getting that package together and how that came, what in terms of financing, which came first, and how that timeline was?
Well, when we started to find the right screenwriter and director, it took us a few months, and we went to the festival of Alpe d'Huez, and
the French comedy festival.
Exactly, and we met Ken Scott that we knew for the past, and we proposed to adapt this movie. It was not actually the first director who came to us, but when we proposed him, it was an evidence. So we met Roland Perez, the author of the book, and his story, met Ken, and they immediately had a crush. Actually, Ken, coming back from the Alpe d'Huez, had the COVID, and he was obliged to stay in France, so he had time to read the book and to meet in real Roland before going back to Montreal, and they immediately wanted to work together. Ken was very respectful of the life of Roland Perez, so that was the first step of the movie. And maybe you want to follow Sophie with the cast?
Yes, just for one word for Ken. There is not so many directors that are able to combine emotion, comedy, a very good narrative structure, and Ken is also a very good screenwriter. So that was we were really happy when he was on board. And for Leila, first we thought of the mother before thinking of her son, and for Leila, she was really obviously our first choice, and so we gave the script to her and prayed that she would say yes. But which she did, and we were quite lucky to have her on board, and we are still very lucky today when we see what she has done on the movie.
And what were some of the challenges of adapting from the page to the screen? And when you were writing it, did you already know about the theatrical to streaming model, or was that before?
I think from the very beginning, this movie was made for theaters, which was important. And as we are progressing now, it's been a few years that we've been doing movies for streaming and movies for theaters. We kind of know how to read the room when a movie needs to be built through a theatrical release. Like as Sophie and Marine just said, like, this is a universal story. This is a mother bound for her son, and this needs to convey a certain emotion that will drive the necessary word of mouth that will then build up the career of the movie, in a sense. So there was no doubt from the very beginning that this was purely a theatrical movie, and Gaumont was kind of building it for it.
Yeah, Gaumont and Égérie from the beginning has conceived this movie to be on screen. As you may know, our main activity is to produce movies to theaters, even if we also produce for streamers like Prime Video with Thomas, because we already had 2 great experiences and direct to streamers. But yes, this movie was really conceived for screens, and it's really because we had a difficulty of convincing the traditional way to finance the movies, that we had this reflection of how we could make this film exist, and it's, as Thomas said, he was in Cannes, so I mean, I have to say thank you to Cannes, because it's a great place to make the deals happen. That we actually, I mean, we are convinced that the theaters create value to a movie. That's why we try to find a way to combine theaters and screeners. And we are very proud of this experience, because we really think that this illustrates a very modern way to finance the movies. And when we had this brain times with Thomas, we took us around 2 months, because I mean, we were kind of desperate with Sophie in May 23rd, because the shooting of the movie was starting in September. So we were in prep in May. So we really had an urgency to find the financing. So when it came to us, this idea of working together, it was important that we could be in accordance with the chronology of media, in accordance with the decreed SMAD, and to find the best deal together.
Mm-hmm. And just for context, in case you don't know, in France, they have a very strict windowing system. So now currently, films have to wait from the time they're in theaters until the time they can go and land on wonderful Prime Video France. They have to wait 17 months currently. So that's why this is such a unique model. Typically, films will go right to streaming, or they'll be in theaters, and then they have to wait. So this was a really unique collaboration.
And one thing I want to add is that at Amazon, MGM Studios, and Prime Video, we're very much committed to theaters and to theatrical movies. Like, there were a lot of announcements from our colleagues in the US at the CinemaCon a few weeks ago. And in France, we are always trying to work backwards from all the regulations that are in place, but we still want to demonstrate that we have a commitment to the theatrical industry and to our theatrical partners. So this movie was the perfect opportunity to set that up, because of the story, the partners, and we knew that we could all together write a success story. So that was quite exciting.
But are there differences in terms of, I guess, creatively and also in terms of marketing for a theatrical release and something that's going to streaming? Are there 2 cuts of this film? Is it the same cut? Are you adapting anything accordingly, or is it just the same film?
It's exactly the same film. I think what we want to preserve the customer experience, and what made the movie successful is what it is now. So we didn't see any specific upside to do another version. That said, it's very interesting that you're saying that, because working in Japan with the Japanese team, there's totally different regulation there, and we are actually releasing most of our movies theatrically. And most of the time, as it's a short window, like 3 to 4 months, maximum 6, we have a differentiated version, actually, that we work, one for theaters, and there's additional minutes, usually. So I think in the future, depending on how things goes, this is something we could look at. But in this specific case, I think we were committed all together to produce the best movie possible, and there was never the question that it needs something else to exist in the future, because as I said, this movie is built on word of mouth, and we just want to keep on going with that.
And it seems that you're all getting along. You're on the stage together. No fighting has been happening. Can you talk about the collaboration and working together? Had you worked together before? What you learned from the experience? And, for example, who's making the green lighting things, making the creative decisions? Was it a real collaboration? Can you talk about that?
The project was set by Sophie and then Marine Jemtin. So I would say that creatively it was already very much set up, and we kind of jumped in because we were convinced by what they created, actually. So there was no topic around we are not aligned with what the movie should be or what the vision for the movie should be. And this is what made the experience interesting. And this is why we were talking for 2 months every night to find a solution. It's because it all came from a place of heart where we were like, it's a mother's story, right? And there's a universal thing that we want to tell, and that we want people to reunite around. So so it was a very interesting setup, because it's quite it's not that common to have everyone aligned that way. And we knew Gaumont, obviously, because we had some projects together in the past, and it's always a pleasure to work with Marine and her teams. And it was actually our first with Sophie, and Sophie carried this project with so much passion and so much heart that the only thing that you have to do is to follow her when she's pitching it. So it was actually quite easy.
And how long did the process take? You mentioned you started filming in September. Can you talk about the set and the shooting circumstances?
Yes, well, it was quite fast, I must say. We started in 2022, the writing, and then the pre-production the year after. Then the shooting was meant to be in September. Half of the writing process was not long, but really precise, because one of the challenge was that in the script, the character is walking in the middle of the film, so we had really had to take care not to drop the audience in the middle. We had really to make sparkle again the second part of the story to keep because in the book it's really different, but in a movie. So this was the first challenge, but we really, it was. As Thomas said, when the script was done, we all agreed that. So after on production, there was another side, is that could the main character of Leila play 50 years of the same person? Would that be credible? Would you believe in it? Because as it's an emotional movie, you really. It's really important, and also because there was Jonathan beside her, and they are both a couple of stars, and the public, the audiences see them in very funny funny shows. It has to be really working. So we made sure before we go on to shoot it that all that was really working, and the VFX, the MFX on Leila were really worked before the shooting.
But just if for those who haven't seen it, so Leila Bekti plays the mother from the beginning through the end over several...
From 35 to 85.
35 to 85. But then Jonathan Cohen just plays her adult son. So there's a little boy actor. And also casting must have been an interesting challenge as well.
Yeah, it was. I must. It was really exciting all along the way, and because we had a great team also for the set, for the costumes, for the casting. Well, it was artistically very, very exciting.
And it's been drawing a lot of people to theaters. Can you talk a little bit about marketing it at home? And then also, as you mentioned, it is a universal story. Gaumont is also selling it internationally. How has it been received, obviously at home, but also abroad?
Yes, just coming back to what you were saying, I think that also because we found a way to co-produce, made all of three in a position to be aligned and involved in the process. And that was a very good point, because as Sophie said, apart from the casting, we spent also a lot of time on the editing of the movie, and it was always on a very fluid way to work all together. So we are very happy. I mean, the idea, of course, was that this model gave a win-win for both of us. So, and we are very happy because the movie now achieved 1.5 million in France and did also very well on the international side. And this was very important because it's a 15 million budget euro, so it's a quite significant budget. So we needed also the support of the international to be completely happy with the success of this movie. And it's actually been sold in quasi all territories. I have also to say that as Ken is Canadian, we made a Canadian co-production. So we should not forget our Canadian co-producer, who was also very involved in the movie. And the movie has been released in Canada and did also very well, and is actually released in many territories. And in France, we were very happy of the results. We released the movie at the time of the Printemps of the Cinema, and we really, and we should also speak about Sylvie Vartan.
Go for it.
I think at the heart of the movie, there's also Sylvie Vartan, who is an international star, right? A singer who's been in the public eye for so many, many years. And this is what we call in France patrimoine, in a sense. And she also gave the soul of this movie through the songs and through also being a part of it, because she's acting in it. And not only did we use the song, but she was also very supportive of the whole process. And maybe it's also something that helped, like the international sales, I assume.
Well, the French title is Ma Mère, Dieu et Sylvie Vartan, which means my mother, God, and Sylvie Vartan. So Sylvie Vartan does play an active role, literally and figuratively, in the script and physically. So this test run, we would say it's a success, and it really was. I remember when everyone was announcing it, it was a big deal in France because it was kind of, the streamers are streaming, and then there's the theatrical, and they were kind of considered to be not incompatible. And actually, you're proving that with this success that it's working. So are there plans for another Once Upon My Mother 2 or another project together?
I think we saw that this model was valid, and we are always seeking at finding innovative models. So we're definitely into continuing building that type of project. I think the challenge that we will have to face is that once you've started with such a specific one that did great, we need to make the right decision. So we're assessing opportunities, but we definitely want to use this model to go after projects that are going to tell universal stories that can get to the heart of people while being premium but a mainstream proposition. So I think it's one of a kind movie also in the sense that it doesn't really match to any specific genre. There's a bit of comedy in there, there's a bit of drama, but in
a lot of tears.
A lot of tears, but happy tears.
Yeah.
Happy tears. So we're definitely looking after our next Happy Tears movie.
Next Happy Tears movie. A genre in itself.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Sophie. That's the end for now. But merci. And now,
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And it's in cinemas. So while you're in Cannes, I mean, go check it out. And next up, we're gonna hop in the car with Rémi Servoni, who's a producer at Gaumont. And he is here to tell us about what will surely be an action-packed case study of carjackers, or in French, Carjackers. So first of all, I guess let's jump in, hit the road, I guess, as you could say. Tell us what Carjackers, what is it about?
Sure. First of all, it's an action film, and it's a movie about a group of modern Robin Hoods, and these guys and girls, they work in luxury hotels. They work as bartenders, drivers, bellboys, valet, and they use this kind of strategic position and skills to steal from wealthy guests when they are leaving the hotels and hitting the highway. So the story kicks off when one of the hotels hires a hitman to try to stop them and, of course, put an end to these operations. So yeah, it's action-packed, as you said, Rebecca, and it's a movie with, of course, a deeper layer of themes like the privileged, of course, the ongoing class struggle, but with a lot of car chases and gunfights and cool characters, I guess.
And how did the project begin? I guess what revved up your engines in terms of signing on to this?
I think we're always looking at replicating success when we had some with our partners. And we did a movie a few years ago which was called Overdose, which was one of our first French original movie that not only had success in France but also internationally. So as we started from there all together, we were like, okay, what's next? What's the next one? To continue building upon the great relationship that we created. So as we regularly, let's say, exchanged and received some ideas and pitches from Gaumont, this one kind of catched our attention, especially as it was drawing the story of those young, crazy Robin Hoods with a taste of action. So we were like, seems like a good match for us.
And what was the casting process like? A film like this, getting the director. Can you talk about Kamel Guemra?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, it was Kamel who came and pitched us the movie. Kamel is a very prominent French screenwriter who worked on a lot of theatrical and also streaming movies that were hits, and we had a few projects with him actually, and one of them was the movie Simply Black by Jean-Pascal Zadi, who he co-wrote. And so when he came, and as Thomas said, we are always talking about projects we are developing and the thing he and his team are looking for. We knew that you guys wanted an action film to add to your lineup, and we felt it was a great opportunity to work with Kamel and as you said, find a young and catchy cast.
And one thing also that was important in picking this movie is that there's always this misconception that streamers are not necessarily supporting first films for directors. And Kamel it was actually his first movie as a director. But as we take those bets, we also want to surround those directors' first-time experience with the best. And we were sure that Gaumont could set up the right team surrounding Kamel to make sure that we're going to set him up for success in directing his first feature.
And in terms of financing, is it less complicated when it's a primary?
Well, it's actually just us. Like the main difference in between what we just spoke about was Vartan is that there are the different sources of financing, right? On Vartan, we just put like 50% of the financing, and when it comes to like a streaming movie, we're actually financing 100% and bearing all the risk. So this is the main difference, but it's all contractual, right? When it comes to how it works with the people, we actually love to say that we're not here to tell like experts how they should work, right? They are experts, so this is why we're working with them. So the reality is that even if here we're financed 100%, as we built the trust over the years and projects, it was the same easy way of working.
And yeah, Remy, I mean, you make films of all kinds. So is there any difference when you're working with a Prime Video compared to just in-house at Gaumont?
Yeah, I mean, to jump on what Thomas said, it's pretty amazing because, you know, as producers, we usually spend years and years trying to make movies happen. And what's great about working with streamers is that when you align creatively, things can move really fast afterwards. So yeah, and you have like one person to talk to take all the decisions with. So yeah, it's pretty fluid and helpful in that way.
If you compare the Sylvie Vartan, we started the development in 2021 and it was released in 2025. And Carjackers, we went very quickly. It took us like even less than a year.
Which for a first film especially, I mean, those can take, decades.
Kamel was happy.
So it's a very different way to produce.
Right, and a built-in audience, all the already. So where and when did you film?
We shot last year from February to April 2024, and we went to shoot on location in southwest of France, in Biarritz and around, which was pretty pleasant.
Sounds really rough.
Yeah, I have a hard job, I have to say. And for all the action sequences, car scenes and car chases specifically, we went to Germany, where we had access to a proper racetrack, which allowed us to have the freedom and of course the security as well to push the action to the next level. And the movie dropped on Amazon like a year afterwards, March 2025. So Marine is right, it was pretty fast.
It sounds amazing. Were there any challenges? What were some of the challenges in producing this?
Yeah, I mean, on top of my mind, and we just talked about how fast things went, and so that's one of the great things about working with streamers, to have a pretty clear calendar to work with, because as soon as like Thomas greenlit the movie, we had a very clear release date, so we have a tight planning, which was already tight to work together to develop the movie, finalize the script, cast the movie as well, all of these things we did together. And as I told you about this, the main location and key element of this movie, which is the luxury high-end hotel, it was one of the first thing we worked on during the preparation to find the location, and it was pretty hard because, as you can imagine, finding a five-star palace that would let us shot for several weeks and not host every guest. We finally find this amazing place in Biarritz, but when we tried to secure the location, they had like a very specific time, which was February, like 3 months earlier than the planned date. So we had to make it fit and work, and it was a lot of talks with all the head departments to make it work. But yeah, we did it.
Very fast, just like there are a lot of very fast car chases in this as well, be warned. And I guess, Marine and Thomas, you can talk about how did this experience compare to working together on Overdose?
Well, Overdose was the first direct-to-platform with a Prime Video. So we learned also how to work together. So in a way, Carjacker was even fluider. Is that right? Fluid?
More fluid.
Fluid. Yeah.
Smooth. As we perfectly know how to work together. So everything went very fast, and I think this is one of the criteria, I would say, of the way we work on the direct to platform together, with a very team exchange all the time. We know what Thomas wants for his audience, and we are at his service also to be the best. So we for both of the movie we worked very closely on the casting, on the editing. So it's a different way of working than when we go to theaters, but it's a complementary way of work, and each experience is very exciting.
And for Carjackers, it's been a really big success internationally. Without the precise figures, can you tell us a little bit about its appeal overseas?
No, it's super interesting to see how those type of movies, like action movies, are actually traveling super well. Not only did Carjackers really eat in France, but it attracted audiences in the US, in Latam, in Italy, in Spain, and more precisely in Latam, in Mexico and Brazil. So we kind of know that there's an appetite, right, for the genre. That is combined with also the expertise that we have here in France to produce like high level action type of movies. So we were kind of rich of the experience on Overdose, where we also eat internationally. So we had this experience, we have some learnings, how we manage to make a movie that is even attracting more younger audience. And this is also why the storyline about those young people was also a good way to make sure that we would, let's say, even broaden the audience that we can attract with Carjackers. So definitely a success, not only in France, internationally, but also on the key audience that is the younger demos. So it's definitely 100% success for us.
And knowing that all of these films, whether it's theatrical, whether it's on the platform, are going to be directed at international audiences, does that affect the creative and I guess financial process from the start, or are you thinking internationally first, or are you thinking locally and then hoping that it will travel?
We are story first, I would say, being agnostic on whether if it's French, Mexican, or whatever, because the more the story is gonna be, let's say, set for an audience, not saying a French one or anything else. It needs to be set for an audience. It needs to have the strong characters. And then, whether if it's in French or Italian or Spanish, we don't care, and the audience don't care anymore. What they want to see is an emotionally involving story. And I think this is where we start. Like, does this story resonate? And does it has this, let's say, universal appeal? We were speaking about Vartan earlier, like about how universal the story is about a mother and a son, and this is actually what we're focusing on, because the love in between a mother and a son, or for Carjackers, like those young Robin Hoods who just want to buy themselves a better life, like everybody can relate to that, whether you're watching in the US, in France, or in another territory. So once I've said that, we did a movie a few years ago which was called Medellin, and while setting the story, we realized that there was the opportunity for casting someone that was an international profile. So we ended up having Mike Tyson in the movie, which obviously was of help when it came to release the movie in the US, because you kind of recognize the face, and our goal as a streamer is to make sure while people are going to look at a key art, they will want to click and then Like if the story is good, they're gonna stay, which is the big thing that we need to make sure that will happen, is that once we make the people click, we need to make them stay. And we make them stay because the stories are great and because the characters are relatable.
And so on that note, we all want to know, no spoilers, are there upcoming projects, Gaumont, Prime Video coming our way?
We're definitely continuing to explore a lot of things. There's one specific project that I hope we'll be able to speak more about in the coming months.
Okay. And what have you learned from these experiences? I mean, obviously, positive things that were challenging that now you know for next time will be easier.
Now, the thing I wanted to add on this note, and Thomas mentioned it a little bit, but it was really amazing to have a first directorial debut with Kamel, with a pretty solid budget for a first film. So this was pretty challenging as well for the director and for all of us to be able to navigate that. So it was a great experience for us working on first feature films as well, which we do some, but not mainly. So it was a great experience.
And I think one learning is that we want to keep on building on things that work, and that each time we continue doing an action movie like Overdose, Carjackers, we are kind of learning, as you said, but we are building again our expertise, which is allowing us to bring to the screen then even more ambitious project. So we definitely want to continue build on what works, and at the same time continue innovate as we did with Vartan, and find, as I said, our next Happy Tears movie.
Well, we look forward to what's coming up next. So stay tuned, to be continued. Clap fin, the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.